Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep. With your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Wednesday edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. Spencer Israel, Joel Elconin, Dennis Dick. On the docket for today, earnings, more earnings, just the same old story. Buy every dip, buy every rally, actually. Just buy it all. That's what Dennis thinks this morning. So we'll talk about the earnings. We'll talk about some ratings. And we'll talk about Bitcoin, of course, big rally over 10,000 overnight. Our guest today, Greg Weldon from Weldon Financial. He would join us at 8:35. In the meantime, Joel, tell us what's happening here overnight.
Spencer in the green by 11.25 handles. Little dip off that 6 p.m. open. Pre-market low 3355.50. Pre-market high, more interesting. Just shy of Tuesday's all-time highs. That's 74.50. We hit 72.75, so split those numbers. That's a target on the upside. The gateway maybe to 4,000. Crude, still like that support at $50, up 85 cents at 50.79. Gold in the red by 60 cents at 1569.50. Silver joining in, down 5.7 cents at 17.54. And don't look now, Bitcoin bulls. Futures over 10,000, trading at 10,480. Those futures are up $85. Congrats to the Bitcoin. Is this a rally for real here over 10,000, Triple D?
Yes. If I had my shirt, and I'm wearing this space shirt because my kid loves the space shirt. My 2-year-old says, "Where's space, space, space?" So I put the space shirt on just for her. So there you go, Natalie. Got the space shirt on for you. But if I had a shirt that said, "I love Bitcoin," I would wear it here this morning.
Why?
This Bitcoin has been, bring up the chart. Let's bring up the chart and take a look at it, because technically it looks pretty good, but even logically, it sounds pretty good. And here's my logic. I mean, you've got China, a lot of people, in a lot of trouble. Wuhan, we know we got the contagion. I would bet that the recent rally that we're seeing in Bitcoin is being propelled a little bit by maybe some Chinese citizens even, because if you were thinking, we're seeing, videos of people getting welded into their homes and, you're quarantined, you'd probably be a little bit concerned about your bank account too. Just that, the government's kind of controlling your whole life right now. Maybe they're going to jump into my bank account and take my money. So if I would maybe be trying to hide my money somewhere, and where I would be hiding it is probably crypto, where you can protect your money a little bit better. So I've never really talked about fundamental cases for crypto, but in this case, I believe there is a fundamental case. So I'm going to call it the Bitcoin safety trade, where I think you may potentially have some people right now saying, I'm not that confident. I'm going to hide in something that I know I can protect and keep. What are your thoughts on that theory?
You can't argue with it. I mean, I've just been looking at it. I can't for sure say about the fundamentals. I'm just talking about the technicals.
The technicals look good.
Yeah,
and I mean we've always said on Bitcoin,
higher volume. I mean, we've already traded. Let's see here, 8,000 contracts today, and an interesting thing too. And I think the CME is still doing it. Those are fully margin contracts, fully margined. So you're putting up some good money to do this. And I think you got the big boys in there. The big boys talked about, getting in it. Mark Yusko. We've had some other people come on. Jerry Parker came on just a few weeks ago, and Jerry was bullish. So, pay to play. And the big boys are in there. Rising price, rising volume, rising over interest. You don't have to read Edwards and McGee to know that that is a trend.
It's not going away. And, we obviously, we've had a lot of people, come on the show, talk Bitcoin. And Professor Angel was on this show who called the top when it back was 20,000. He kind of predicted that would just eventually fizzle out. It kind of did. But you know what? It got its luster again. And it's starting to shine here once again. It's back above 10,000. I would just say, now that you're over 10,000 and you have a lot of uncertainty everywhere, if Bitcoin was if there was ever an environment where Bitcoin was going to start to rise, I think it's this type of environment. So I don't own any Bitcoin. I kind of almost want to. I've never owned Bitcoin. I almost kind of want to right now. But I'm trying to stop myself from doing it because I said I wouldn't become a crypto trader. I've even told everyone I trade equities. I don't trade crypto. But in any regard here, I believe the Bitcoin safety trade is full on. I think the uncertainty, and you look at this market and say, what are you talking about uncertainty? I mean, it goes up every day, and sure. But the world uncertainty is a different picture than the market uncertainty. And let's talk about that for a second here too. Because I, obviously have had, I bought some portfolio insurance. I've been a bear pretty much in the last couple of weeks. I've obviously had the bull thesis, the bull hat on for a decade. And I've been concerned. And it was the first time I bought insurance in a long time. With that being said, so you could say my bias is to the short side. You could say that, even though, I'm not short. But my bias has been more bearish. With that being said, my overnight portfolio has been long every single night. Why do I keep, why am I long if I'm bearish? Because just the market is telling me that it doesn't matter. What did I buy last night? I was buying, other stocks that were down. I was actually able to buy some Wynn Resorts last night that was trading lower. I mean, and now it's up $4 here this morning. It's a type of market that makes no logical sense, but you cannot trade logic all the time. Sometimes you just got to trade the tape in front of you. And in this market is making new all-time highs. It gives me no technical reason to be short. So even though I bought portfolio insurance, because this is separate from, but that's my long-term investing hat, that I don't know if this thing's going to be okay. I went out to June. I said I want to hedge some of my portfolio because I'm still concerned that this is still in the early innings. The market has zero concerns about that. I don't know why it keeps going up every day. I don't know why it doesn't care that there's people dying. I don't know why it doesn't consider, the cases. It says, oh, the cases are going down. So kind of predictable that the market's going to go up, the cases are going to go down. But now they don't even consider some cases cases. So they changed the definition of it 2 days ago. And that's really why the cases are going down. But that's a whole other story. Trade the market in front of you. You've got to be able to trade against your bias sometimes. I have trouble doing that, but right now I'm not. And overnight, I'm long again. And you know what? I'm getting paid to be long.
One final thing, just gonna finish up the Bitcoin discussion. What do we have coming up this week and on Monday? What do we have coming up? Well, you guys don't have it, but we have it.
Oh, Joel's right. A 3-day weekend.
And it's always nervousness into a 3-day weekend. I don't think I would want to be long into the weekend. I'm just saying from day to day, it's predictable. You can watch the cases come out. Until we start seeing people die outside of China, that's going to be, I think, the turning point. If we start seeing people die outside of China, if some people start dying on this cruise ship, and we hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
That's going to be kind of, where the market, I think, gets more nervous. Because right now, almost all of the deaths, I know we've had like 3 people outside of China die, but almost all of the deaths so far have been within China. We start seeing people die outside China, that's where the market might start to get nervous. But this market shows no nervousness whatsoever. Aju says this is the top because I just called and I went bullish here. I'm not bullish, Aju. I'm just saying I'm long overnight. I'll be out of all these trades at 10 o'clock. But every night I get a little bit long and I sell in the morning. I did this yesterday. I did this the day before. So despite my bias, I am actually trading from the long side. So Aju, sorry to disappoint you, but I actually made money the last 2 days. So I know a lot of people in the chat like it when I lose money. Sorry to disappoint.
No, Dennis, don't say
sorry
that.
to disappoint. Well, there's a few people, so not a lot of people. Sorry, the chat's
who in
pretty
the chat
awesome.
likes you to lose money?
But there's a few people that always say that they like it when I lose money. So
who? Because I'll have Spencer kick him out.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I like the haters. You gotta have some haters in there. We can't have a chat that just has 100% love. The chat,
yeah, we do.
The chat's awesome for all those reasons. This is why we have a market. If we don't have people on the other sides of my trades, I can't make money, Joel. This is why we have a market. So we love everybody in the chat. Love, hate, it's all good, guys. It's all good.
Everything is good.
Everything is good. The whole world's good. And you know what? You made such a good point, Spencer. You made such a good point early on the pre-market show.
I did.
That even if the market goes to pull back significantly, what's going to happen? We got Powell. We got the Fed put.
Oh,
we got
yeah.
Powell. Yeah, party. So, despite, obviously China having a lot of issues right now, none of that is concerning in the North American markets until people start dying over here. I'm going to say that's going to be the turning point. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully we can continue this party. Hopefully my portfolio insurance, hopefully the insurance that I bought on my portfolio expires worthless. Because you know what? The market was up so much in the last week and a half that I'm actually up more in my overall portfolio than I paid for the total insurance. I said I paid 3% going out to June. Well, if you look, the markets have moved up over 3% in the last week. So Unbelievably, I'm glad I didn't go in. I did sell some stocks. Some people are saying I thought you raised some cash. I did sell a few stocks, but I went from, I've always been somewhat underinvested. So I think I sold 4 or 5 stocks. I rebought some stocks too, though. So I bought Sarepta Therapeutics back on the pullback at 111. I also bought Marvel 2 days ago at 24. I talked about on the show that I was thinking about buying it. I'm glad I pulled the trigger. Had a big day yesterday. So I'm kind of starting to get, some of my investments back as well. But the biggest thing that I did to ensure myself was I bought SPY puts. Those have obviously not performed well. I bought some at 325 when the SPY was 327, and I bought more at 333 when the SPY was at 333. So obviously I'm losing on those puts. I'm down significantly on those puts. I also have puts on some airlines. I have different puts. Those I'm losing on. But again, that was to hedge my long-term portfolio. I'm glad I'm losing on that because, like I said, it would have been the worst case. I just liquidated my portfolio, went to cash because I'd be not participating in this rally, which I'm fully participating in still, despite having.
Hey, Triple D, real quick here. Bull for trading. I mean, now you're still doing your stat arb when you're talking about. You're just
all of it. Yeah, all of it.
Yeah.
But
So
I'm
you're not
biased to the long side, Joel. Here's what, normally when I'm doing market neutral trading and I'm trading in the markets, normally I'm market neutral. But right now, my logic tells me to be market short, but the technicals, the trading is telling me just be market long. So I'm still market kind of neutral. I still have some shorts and some longs, but I'm always staying a little bit biased to the long side right now because the trend is your friend. We keep opening up every single day. I said it last night. Somebody at Bright was asking me, he's like, there's no good edges out here right now. Like, it's weird. The information, they're selling off stocks, like they're buying the cruise lines on people, getting quarantined. It's like, it's not making any sense. But I just said to him, well, what do you mean there's no good edges? The best edge out there is just long overnight because it seems like we go up every single day.
So
you morning, at least in the morning.
So if you buy something, then you buy spiders as hedge. Is that what you're doing?
Oh, buy and buy? No, not quite that. But I'm always a little bit, I always try to trade market. So this is the overnight portfolio. Take the investing cap off. Investing portfolio it's only a third hedge. I didn't hedge the whole thing.
Yep.
I didn't want to spend that much. I couldn't bring myself to spend $100 grand on portfolio insurance. So I only partially hedged it, my long-term portfolio. So, but on the trading, if I put the trading cap on, just the trading cap, I usually trade market neutral. What does that mean? Equal longs, equal shorts, mostly dollars. Sometimes I beta hedge it, but for the most part, dollar neutral. So if I got $1 million worth of longs, I got $1 million worth of shorts, I'm kind of market neutral. It kind of eliminates the market risk. Well, right now I try to stay a little bit biased on the long side. So if I got $1 million in shorts, maybe I got $1.1 million in longs. This is overnight stuff. This is my statistical arbitrage. It's my information arbitrage. There might be news on a stock. There might be something happening last night, like Qualcomm gets upgraded last night. I buy Qualcomm. I mean, it's just Daiwa, but anyways, they love anything that's upgraded right now, and I get paid for that this morning. So that's just information arbitrage. There's obviously other things as well that are involved. And we talk. I do a little bit of index arb in there as well. The after hours index arb. We've talked about that. The top 10 stocks make up 20% of the SPY. So if you can get those top 10 stocks, mostly you'll kind of, for the most part, obviously there's sometimes, the other 490 can make up for it, but those 10 stocks kind of drive the bus. You got those 10 stocks, you kind of got the market on 90% of the days. Lots going on all the time in my trading portfolio, but I try to stay market neutral. But in this market, despite my bias, it's better to stay a little bit long even in your overnight portfolio because it seems like that's where the alpha is coming from right now.
Can we jump to Microsoft here real quick? Texas Linda. Did we lose Dennis?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Let's jump to Mr. Softy yesterday. And what happened? It went down.
I'm trying to figure that out myself. So and it had a big reversal day yesterday. And you know what I believe just happened? It was just simply way overbought and was due for a pullback. This stock 3 weeks ago was $160. It ran, and this is a huge company. You're talking about one of the biggest companies, if not the biggest company in the world. Throw on, 30 points or, another like 16 or 17% in market cap in 15 trading sessions. It was simply overbought. And yesterday was a turning point, I believe, for Microsoft. It was a big, ugly red candle. With that being said, as long as this double bottom holds 183.50, 183.
Very good, Dennis.
Bulls are still somewhat in control here, so don't get all happy and start short Microsoft. I think This was kind of like a Tesla candle, and the Tesla was extreme. So this is a light version. This is called this Tesla light here. But it had a really big run and pulled back significantly, yesterday off of the highs. Opened at the high and kept pulling straight down. Despite overall tech holding up not bad. So Microsoft had an ugly day. That's okay. It's bouncing back a little bit here this morning. I'd just be cautious. I don't know if I'd be jumping in with longs here. I'm not shorting it here, but I don't know if I'm jumping in here long either. Below 183 and a quarter, though, it gets interesting.
Yeah, that gets interesting. And for those of you long-term holders here of Microsoft, and you want to check the validity of this decline, I'm looking at 187, 187.10. We haven't quite hit that yet in the pre-market. That's halfway back. So if you have any nervous Nellies out there that, looked at that candle from yesterday, to me, 187. Close back above there. Everything is good in Microsoft land. All-time high from yesterday, 190.70. All-time closing high, 188.70. So there's got a couple levels on the upside here in Mr. Softy.
So you did see a little bit of risk off yesterday in a few other stocks, but like some people were pointing out, stocks like Amazon, they did pull back from the highs though. So it was, and even the Qs themselves, it was a somewhat little bit of a concerning candle. I'm not too concerned about it yet. If you're looking at the Qs, if you are biased long or you just flat out long, and we know we have a lot of people who just trade the long side that listen to the show. I try to stay market neutral. In my long-term portfolio, I'm always long. So I'm always invested. Sometimes I hedge myself, not very often, but I obviously hedge myself a little bit here with the puts that I bought. But if you are just flat out long the Qs, I'd look at this level right here. There's 3 lows back from February the 6th, 227.98. Next day, 228.54, but then the next one, 228.38. 3 lows within 50 cents of each other. That would be my line in the sand. Below 227.98, I'd be starting to get a little bit nervous. So Bull's completely in control, at least for another 4 points down on the Q. Starts to go down below that, then you get concerned. Again, the headline that I am, going to be cautious on is if people start dying outside of China. That's where I will start to get a lot more cautious. I think you're green lighted until that happens, though.
And hopefully it will not happen.
Hopefully it will not happen. We want, even when are you still holding your portfolio insurance to a certain extent?
Yeah, I did not go nearly as deep as you did.
I didn't go that deep either, though. Like I would say I hedged about, it's hard because it's even hard, like, because I'm not just flat out like, long a whole bunch of SPY and I can just short, put buy SPY puts. I've got my portfolio in itself is a lighter beta portfolio. We know I like a lot of value stocks. I do own Shopify. I do own a few growth stocks in there.
Let's talk Shopify.
But I've got a lot of, and let's talk about that in a second. But I've got, preferred stocks in there that typically don't move. I have a lot of different types. I'm a different type of investor. And maybe it's because, I'm 43 years old. I'm kind of in midlife now. I don't need to be all in on growth, 100% growth on everything. I'm more about protecting the wealth I've created now than, crazy growing it. I'm comfortable with my life, comfortable where my finances are. I don't want to see, have to start working again. And that's why, I buy a little bit of portfolio insurance to hedge some of my stuff. But, I'd say my portfolio is I probably sold about 5%. I did raise a little bit of cash for sure, which was a mistake. 100% that was a mistake. That was when SPY was 228. So it's 8 points higher than that. That was a mistake. But I think I'm going to get chances here yet to get some of that back.
All right, let's. We got some big old earnings here to talk about. Where do you want to start, Mr. Spencer?
Well, let's start with Shopify. Yeah, mentioned it. Talk about a high flyer. Stock's been ripping. Expectations are high, and it was still a good report. In spite of that, they blew away the EPS estimate, 43 cents versus 24-cent estimate. Sales was very good as well, $505 million versus a $482 million estimate. So they blew away the expectations for the Q4 quarter. They gave some guidance, some sales guidance for the current quarter and for the year. Both those numbers were fine. They were in line with estimates. So a great Q4 earnings report and in line Q1 and fiscal year sales guidance for Shopify.
It was a good quarter. I'm actually surprised it's up 42 points on this. So I'm long Shopify, full disclosure. Great. I plan on holding it. I bought Shopify in November. I almost got the bottom. I think I got this around 290. So it was Canadian equivalent, but I missed the bottom by like $8. So I bought that perfectly. I did sell half of it on the way up. I wish I would not have, and I've held the rest of it. So I wish I would have held it all. That was a mistake to sell half of it. On the stuff that I held, we're 535 here this morning, 290. I'm up like 80 or 90% in 3 months. It's been a good run. So is Shopify due for an eventual pullback here? I think so, but this company I believe in. I think, and people, look at me and say, well, this isn't your style, Shopify, growth stock. Your style is more value, cash, and stocks that are making money and giving nice dividends. But you have a little bit of growth there too. Yeah. And I really believe in this story. I believe that, it's one of the only good Canadian companies to invest in from a tech perspective. And I believe, a lot of your Canadian investors look at this and say, okay, I want to buy tech. What am I going to buy? You automatically go to Shopify. So I'm a believer, a firm believer in Shopify. I believe in the platform. I believe they're going to be attacking Amazon. And that's why I stay long.
541.10. Is that 5? Yeah, 541.10. You spiked up there on the headline number. You went to 540 even. And then on the next bracket, you went to 541.10. $5 off it. I don't think it's going to pull like a Hasbro. Did you see Hasbro yesterday?
Holy Joel, holy mackerel. Yes, I did.
Mano, shove it. Anyways, if you got a target here, 540, 541 on the upside. If not, you might get a little bit of a fade, a little bit of profit taking, but that's the only number I can give you, folks. 541.10.
They opened that Hasbro and pulled the rug right out from underneath it. I had no idea which way. I said, I'm not calling this one. I said I could see it, going. It's the gap area. I could see this continuing to go up. I could also see this giving it all back. That's why I said it was a coin flip for me and I wasn't trading it. It gave it all back. So terrible candle for Hasbro. When you have a decent report and you gap up $8 and you give it all back, that is never a good thing. I would not want to own Hasbro right now.
Next.
Let's go to LYFT here. LYFT sort of gets victimized
because they reported second.
Because they reported second, but also so Uber set the tone with their report. They talked about their profitability. They said they'll be profitable sooner rather than later. They're cutting their costs. Profitability was that was the theme of Uber's earnings report. It was not the theme of LYFT's report. So the numbers were what they were. They lost 41 cents per share on an adjusted basis. Their sales 1.01 versus 1.01 billion dollars versus 984 million. Sales were fine, but their losses are increasing. They did not even talk about when they'll be profitable, and I think that's what the street was expecting, and that's what you're seeing stock down here this morning.
A victim of reporting second. I've said that and talked with the strategy for years on the show. You report first, they set the bar really high for LYFT. They could not get over that bar. But again, you make some good fundamental points. They didn't talk about the profitability that Uber talked about. So that's what the media is going to grab onto here. I'd say as long as it's above 50, let's see what it does, because this could be a potential one that they come in and buy. The dip was very loved coming into the report. And this isn't like, we talked about Under Armour yesterday. I was like, this is not the kind of dip you want to buy. I said this in UA yesterday when it was $16. I said that being said, it does have support at 15. Funny that it just holds right at 15. But I mean, this is a stock that's opposite. It's been going up. It's been trending up. It could be like an AMD. AMD took 3-4 days, eventually shrugs it off and starts making new highs a week and a half later. I could see the potential for this to do that. I want to see it hold 50 though. That's the important number. So if it can hold 50 over the next 2 or 3 days, this is a shot to get these losses back. So it's a buy the dip potential here. Although I'll say guilty until proven innocent. I want to see hold 50.
You know what? I'm going to jump your bid there by $1, and I'm going to focus on 51. And the reason is just, you had to decline. You made the pre-market low, I believe, just under 51. Let me see the exact number here. Pre-market low, 50.89. But there seems like, what's the bid offer in there? Do you see like an iceberg or anything in there, like around 51?
No, it's tight. So what do you think?
It's tight. So someone's supporting this stock at 51. If they could get out of the way, then you may test that 50 level. But when you have a big drop like that, and then you see the stock holding a particular area for hours since the 8 o'clock close, to me, someone wants to own the stock at 51. So you clear them out. Maybe you test that $50 level, but I don't know. I wouldn't be shorting this thing in the 51 today.
All right, let's go to maybe our disaster stock of the day.
Sure.
That is Bed Bath & Beyond.
Oh,
they did the
predictable disaster stock.
They did the old pre-reported trick. They're not scheduled to report earnings for like a month at least. They're always very late in the season. And they said, let's get the bad news out of the way now. And when we actually get to our earnings report, you'll forget about it. So the bad news is out. Yesterday, they said that their comparable sales for the first 2 months of the quarter declined 5.4%.
That's not good. That's not good.
That's their same store sales.
Yeah, that's not good. This is the opposite of, like looking at, those high flyers and growth stocks and buying, good companies on dips. This is buying bad companies on dips. I don't buy bad companies on dips. So if you want to buy at 11, maybe it bounces back. I mean, this stock I've thought this was dead for a long time. I've had this for dead money, forever. I mean, if you even listen to the show, we talked bearish about Bed Bath & Beyond for years. I'm taking heat for it too. I mean, we were bearish the stock at $50. So I'm not getting off the bear train on this. I think all rallies still to be sold on this thing. The recent rally was a rip your face off one though. So if you were short from 8 to 18, it really sucked. Now, it's coming back in again. I mean, it seems like this company, everybody wanted to believe in the turnaround story. It suckered people in here again. I just do not think a turnaround is imminent. I know there's activist action in there and everything.
There you go. Yep.
It really is just a bad story. So there's good stocks and bad stocks, and there's good companies and bad companies. This company just doesn't have it. I'm not a fan of the stock whatsoever. I'm not a fan of this company. So, is there going to be short squeezes? Could, activists turn around? Maybe. I'm not betting my money on it though.
They're going to put me on the board and I'm going to get rid of the 20% coupons is what they need to do. And
any company that needs to coupon the hell to get you into the store. Think about how many sales you get at Lululemon. Do you get coupons for 20% off or 30% off at Lululemon showing up in your doorstep? Have you ever seen any couponing really for Lululemon? Maybe you get them online or something, but do you ever see like a mass coupon promotion for Lululemon?
I think you're talking to the wrong crowd here.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you mean?
I'm asking the chat too, because I've never seen any Lululemon coupon show up at my doorstep.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
So why? And that's telling you that's a good company. They don't have to discount to sell. When you've got a discount to sell, it's always usually an issue. I mean, and yes, fast food restaurants give you some deals to get you in and stuff, but it's just a tell. I mean, when you got to get the 30% off coupon to go into the store, they're probably not making much money on you. They're trying to just get you in the store and hope you buy something else. It's a loss leader, those coupons. Get you in the store, it will get you 25% off towels. Maybe you'll buy some soap. I mean, it's tough.
They also went into like food. Like they have like all this big food section now. They're
trying everything. Throw, the SHI blank against the wall and see what sticks. Well, you know what? Not much is sticking on those Bed Bath & Beyond walls. Sorry. Next.
All right. Boom. I don't know if the sellers are done yet here.
Are they ever really done in Bed Bath & Beyond, Joel? We've talked about the stock since $50, and the sellers just, even when we get these little rallies, activists coming in, going to turn the whole thing around. Fast money pumping it because the activist is in there now. This is going to be a turnaround story. Wrong. I stay bearish.
Man, I don't know if we got the gas to fill the gap from October 9th and 10th. I don't know, Spencer. Could you look? Was that like an earnings or was that an activist ploy or something? Because you had a day where you closed at 994, then the next day you closed at 1209. That kick started the whole rally. Was that when they booted the president or something like that, CEO?
Yes, it was. Very good.
Thank you. Okay. So do I think we're going to fill the gap at 10:05 today? No. But would I be buying like at 1060, hoping to scalp out at 11? No. So let's see. That's a buck away. But if it did get down to that area, the first time.
It could see $10.
Yeah, $10.
If
Possible scenario here. If it gets down there, I don't think it will. But right now, sellers are not letting up on it. 10.99. That's your last print. Just skimming along the lows of the pre-market.
All right, there's a few more reports where we'd like to go. We can go to CVS. We can go to Akamai. We can go to let's go to CVS.
You're the producer, man.
All right,
you
all right, fine. Then we'll do CVS. They're out this morning. Stock was down. Now it's up. Q4 adjusted EPS $1.73 versus $1.68. Sales also beat 66.9 for $63.9 billion. So a beat and a beat for CVS. Last quarter, they gave some guidance, EPS guidance for the year that was in line with estimates.
Again, WBA set the bar low for them. They're the beneficiary. So again, if you're just turning in for the first time, we always talk about this. If the company ahead of you, if you're reporting second, you always want the company ahead of you to miss, because then the bar is set lower for yourself and you can actually rally. I mean, the CVS is decent, but let's be honest, WBA was not a good report, the last one. So here, yeah, they beat by a nickel. Yes, the sales are pretty good. Yes, the guidance is in line. It's all pretty good, but the bar wasn't that high for this either. Yeah, it ran up for the last week and a half, but everything ran up in the last week and a half. So, I mean, you do have some resistance. I'm not coming here and buying CVS. I don't know if this is like, a stock that I just want to pile in and it's going to take out 80, 90 and go to 100 and be the next big growth thing. But I'm kind of just hands off. I will say there's some resistance over overhead supply here, though, 76 to 77.
Yeah, I was just gonna. I mean, you had a big high and a big low here. You're trading up $1.96. Ah, man, I see 3 highs between 76.01 and 76.44. So intermediate target. Let's just use the highest one of those, 76.44, and the high in the move's been 77.03. Marmill's making fun of me here, which I don't mind. She says, I think it's a she. Joel has a Peloton. I'm sure there's Lulu in his closet. I have full disclosure here, and I don't want you guys to make fun of me. But Lisa wanted to, return some of the stuff that we went at Lululemon. Okay. And she's like, no, you got to try the pants on. You got to try the pants on. And I did. And I think they're ridiculous.
Why are they ridiculous?
I don't know.
Comfortable.
Ridiculously comfortable, Spencer Israel says.
I'm an old dude. I don't think that
you don't look good in yoga pants, Joel.
I don't look good. I mean, no, she's like, oh yeah, so and so is wearing them, and I'm like, oh my god, I tried them on, and I'm like, too long, too short. I'm like, for full disclosure, I did buy a pair, and I'm returning them because they look absolutely ridiculous. So I'm not shorting Lululemon, but man, I don't know about those pants. I really did. Lisa did well in the store, but I don't know. I mean, if I'm gonna wear sweatpants, I'm gonna wear sweatpants, But anyways, I thought don't make fun of me about this, but I did try them.
All right, let's move on to Cyber-Ark here. This one seems to alternate reactions to earnings reports. One quarter it's terrible, next quarter it's great. Next quarter, it's terrible.
These are identifiable trends. Why didn't you tell me about this before they reported? Maybe I would have been short. I needed to know this news yesterday, Mr. Israel.
Yeah, sorry. Anyway, the earnings for Cyber-Ark were fine. They beat on the EPS. They beat on the sales estimate. The guidance they gave was light. The EPS guidance for the current quarter, very light. Sales guidance for the current quarter, also light. Guidance for the fiscal year, also light on the EPS, and the sales was fine, but very light guidance, earnings notwithstanding. So it was a good quarter, but light on the forward-looking statements.
It's hard to just come in and again, this is a stock that maybe in a week and a half they turn around and start buying it here again. But this was very, very toppy coming in. It wasn't like this one that was going straight up. I mean, here you've had this relentless, run in the SPY in the last, couple of weeks. It didn't participate. Why did it not participate in the last week and a half? It didn't participate at all. So I don't know. Maybe people were nervous about the quarter or whatever, but there's so many tops there. I don't like, I didn't like, I actually sometimes go long into reports and then I try to get out after hours. And I was even nervous on this one last night because it just looked so toppy on the chart. Not that technicals matter when there's a fundamental event, but sometimes they do a little bit. There's just so much resistance up there. I was like, I'm not even gonna take my chance that I won't be able to get out of that one after hours. And I'm glad maybe I would have last night. I'm not sure what it did after hours, but down $12 would be a horrible one to hold through the report. Support down at 120. That's $6 lower. It's had a good run. This is a tough one. This is one of those curveballs. I don't know how to hit this pitch.
This one we talked about yesterday, and it was just a quiet consolidation. And, the trend had been up. So, it's kind of hard to fade it, but they had a trap door there. I think I called 136 yesterday because, let's say 3-4 lows since the end of January there. So 136, that was the trap door. So, I mean, but that's in the rear view mirror here. So, I mean, I don't want to short it down $12 or whatever it is. Pre-market low 122.50. Hopefully you get some kind of bounce in this and get back. I don't know if you're going to fill the gap or whatever, but a lot of people stuck on this one. And a lot of people still sitting on a lot of profits, folks. I mean, this stock bottomed under $100 back in October. So if you think, 127 is a low price, well, if you bought it under 100, it's still not a bad gain. So hopefully this one gets a little bit of a pop and short into strength as opposed to shorting into weakness. And this was Anne Marie's pick. I would probably could have had her on today, get her opinion if she's lurking in the chat room, see if she's buying the dip in this one.
All right, let's do one more while we wait for our guest. Let's do Teva. This one's been on a bit of a rally of late, and they reported earnings this morning, and the earnings were good. They beat on their EPS, they beat on their sales, and the guidance that they gave for the year was in line with estimates.
It's already trading over in Europe, so price discovery has already happened. They've priced it up 4%. That's why you see a 1 cent tidy market. It's just the HFT, high frequency arbitrage going on there. Obviously looking at the price over in Europe, and they give you a nice 1 to 2 cent market here over in the US in the pre-market because we know where it's trading over in Europe. So price discovery has already happened for the most part. So don't expect this wild volatility in this thing. Trading up is nice. It's hard. ADR is technically, because you got to look at really, this is the secondary market here. So what is it doing over there? You're always kind of chasing over here. That's one thing why, and Alibaba is a different story where this is kind of still the primary market. When you look at a Teva ADR, the primary market's over in Europe. So you got to look at the trading action over there, really.
Joel, thoughts on the chart?
It's a laggard here. Where are we trading at? Trading at 1284, $13. Someone has an opinion. $13. That was your early morning high. So you get through 13. I'm looking for more on the upside here. In Teva, just real quick. So, man, we're getting a bunch of symbols here. MMYT trade doc. I don't know what got into this thing yesterday.
What stock?
MMYT. I don't know. I have no idea. Make my trip. Oh, good one, Dennis.
I've never heard of this company.
It's just
you got one. I've never traded this before. There's not a lot of stocks I've never traded before. Is this an old company? Is this from something else?
It's been around for a while.
Wow. I don't know how I've missed this one. I gotta add this to my system, but
I would like to see what the float is here. I bet you
I've never traded this stock before.
You want
of course, I pick on the mega caps for the most part.
Yeah, I just want plow through 29.35. Get a higher close on the move. Get over $30. It did have a rally going into this.
What happened yesterday?
I have no idea. Short squeeze? I don't know. What happened?
That's an explosion.
On heavy volume.
Exploded yesterday. Sometimes you think there's a 2-day move.
I didn't see any news. No.
What was the news?
I said I did not see any news.
Above $30, maybe you think the squeeze continues there, but I never chase. This is the definition of chasing. I always talk about, get on the train before it leaves the station. Get the setup. I think this might go. This train is flying down the tracks and you're trying to jump on. So maybe you're going to get lucky and be able to jump on the side of it, or maybe you're going to fall into the tracks and get run over. In either regard here, it's run too far for me to make a trade on this.
All right.
Greg around?
Yeah, let's bring on our guest today, Greg Weldon from Weldon Financial. He's been through it all in these markets. He's seen everything there is to see, more or less. Greg, good morning.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing okay. How about yourself?
Great, thanks. Just back from Vancouver, actually, where I spoke at the World Outlook Conference over the weekend. So quite a collection.
And go ahead, Spencer.
Well, I mean,
Outlook.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, what is the outlook for the world?
Well, I think there was a optimistic viewpoint with an undercurrent of fear is really kind of, to shave it all down. A lot of different perspectives, of course. But to me, when I look at what's going on, I think the thing that strikes me the most is you're seeing an expansion in volatility in nature, in a lot of things. And I could get really deep with you to explain why, from an astrophysics perspective and a dynamic around what's happening in our solar system, as to why exactly this is. But in that vein, it's important to note how that relates to the stock market, where, Officialdom has done their best job for decades now, trying to basically eradicate volatility from the asset markets. So I think that polarization itself speaks volumes. And I think that one thing that we can anticipate, I believe, going forward is an expansion in volatility at some point that could be significant.
Why do you think that? Is there a catalyst here that you're seeing? Why do you think that volatility might expand? I mean, it always does for short periods of time, but are you seeing like a prolonged volatility expansion, like VIX, starts to trade up in the 20s regularly? What's your thought process behind that?
Yeah, I'm seeing kind of a secular shift. One of the primary driving forces here, of course, is just to really take a giant step back and look at the period since 1971, since we went off the gold standard. And I'm not a gold standard guy. I think that that's ridiculous. But if you really, break it down, since then, the dollar, having gained the right of seniorage, from the outcome of World War II, basically had the right to print as much money as they wanted to. And we went into this 50-year trend of, bubble, deflation, central bank activity. And each step of the way, it has been more significant. I mean, I remember 1987, and I remember Alan Greenspan delivering a $100 billion aid package, and people went ballistic because $100 billion back then was enormous. And if you look at it now, it's a blip on the radar screen. You barely even notice 1987 if you look at a chart of the S&P 500. Subsequently, 1990, they took the Fed funds rate to 3 when inflation was 3. The first time ever you had an effective real Fed funds rate of 0, and people went crazy. You kind of got your Greenspan put, you've had your Bernanke bailout. You got to 2007 where, obviously they had to monetize government debt, and something that I was saying they would do, late 2006, early 2007. And again, that's crazy. That'll never happen. And of course it did. But where do we go from here? You have negative interest rates that are sucking trillions of dollars out of the real economy, particularly in Europe. Making a policy error, frankly, the ECB basically told, the populace of Europe, we see things so negative that we can't even create a scenario where we're going to be raising rates in the next 2 years. And that's just, backfired because they thought, hey, if we do what the U.S. did, you're going to, spark consumption over savings, and you're going to spark investment in risk assets. That's not what happened. I mean, the European, households went into a cocoon and basically said, hey, I'll pay the German government to hold my money safely for 30 years.
Yeah,
I mean,
insane.
Think of how insane that is.
Insane.
But where do they go from here? Because negative rates don't work, and they're not going to really, I don't think, get any deeper. You have a few central banks that have some room, one of which is the Fed. And if you kind of look at what the Fed said in their last 2 rate cuts, they used 2 words repeatedly, international and global, because really they've kind of become the central bank to the world.
Yeah.
What you're seeing now that I don't really hear much talk about, and we got great examples over the last 2 weeks, and last week specifically, the Bank of Thailand cut interest rates to a record low and specifically targeted their currency. The Monetary Authority of Singapore, one of the most respected central banks in the world, specifically targeted their currency. And what was interesting in targeting their currencies, they're doing it at a time when gold in those currencies is making record highs. So when I see kind of this just disproportionate dynamic in, debt versus what are the central bank's ability to kind of paper through the next potential downturn. And I can tell you in South Florida, in Palm Beach County here, in Palm Beach Island, Jupiter Island, people that are a lot more wealthy and successful than me, people that have become successful because they have learned to listen to their instincts, are coming to me and saying, they're afraid. They don't know why, but they're uneasy. Confidence is fraying in central banks. And I think that leads to volatility that ties in with the volatility you're seeing in everything else. I mean, just look at the political scene. The left is more extreme, the right is more extreme, and they're divided more than ever. It's not necessarily record heat, although it's, solar warming. It's not just global warming. I mean, the ice shelves are melting on Pluto, for crying out loud. But when you look at it, you also have record cold. You have record floods and record drought. The polarization of pretty much everything in physics is extending, and that's a trend that is secular and is not going to go away. And when that hits the financial markets, which are poised because you have this disproportionate dynamic between debt and the need to keep creating more money, that, and from a mathematical perspective, becomes really problematic from here, given
what
how
about
much created.
What about the political environment here? We're coming into an election year. We are in an election year. Any election year cycles? Anything that you're looking for in the market? Market usually trends higher in an election year. They like to juice the economy. Is there anything in your studies that you want to reveal?
I try and stay away from politics. I'm not, a political cycles guy for sure.
Okay.
But what I do see, is the chance for more volatility. Let me throw a little curveball at you because I've kind of had this thought process in my back pocket. And
Sure.
when someone else brought this up at the conference over the weekend, it really caught my attention. If you look at the Democratic Party and you look at the fracturing and you look at the implosion and the self-destruction that's going on there, you could create a scenario. Don't get too crazy, but you could create a scenario where they draft Hillary Clinton. I mean, who else out there really has any chance to beat Trump? Not that she does, not that she's a viable candidate, not that, but if you want to talk surprises and you want to talk, let's create volatility and polarization, she would be the most polarizing figure possible. And that's why, to me, there are some odds. I mean, let's put it this way. The odds of that happening are not zero.
No, Vegas has odds on it.
What are the odds? I don't. This is not something I really looked into, but
Let me go look in the background. I'll try to find those for you.
Let's talk crude oil here. Big jump to 65 here, back down, bottoming under 50 here. I know you're a commodities guy here. Any take on crude? And let's throw gold in there at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely on crude. We sold it at 59 when it came off the highs. It was one of the biggest reversal patterns we've ever seen. I mean, of course, that was linked to Iran and Iraq and the missiles and so on and so forth. But the bigger picture, and this blows my mind, and I was just talking about this yesterday, actually. When you think about it, well, look what's happening. You have, UC Berkeley, you have Harvard, you have Penn, you have Georgetown now. All these schools, the endowment funds are big. I used to be, when I was at Lehman, I was a broker, and Harvard Management was one of our customers, and they're massive. They're market moving when they want to be. They've all announced they're going to liquidate their fossil fuel, investments in the next 5 years. When is the last time you heard a hedge fund with a huge position in something come out and say publicly, we're going to look to liquidate? All right. So, first of all, just put your head on the chopping block. Why don't you? All right. So this has created tremendous pressure, but it also reflects the secular picture. All right. So, gosh, you say to yourself, is there a point where ExxonMobil at a record discount to the broader market is value? Or do you say ExxonMobil is violating a 50-year uptrend line? I don't know. What I do know is, to me, the play has been to be short crude right here, and more so to be long some of the alternative green energies. Solar is something we picked up early last week and is just taken off in just a matter of days.
We've been talking about this trade on this show as well for the last year, and I've been bearish oil and bullish solar stocks for a while. I mean, look at the ETF TAN.
Yeah,
that
it's taken off.
Back in November was just another buying opportunity, and that's been blasting off. And I mean, you can come on and say, oh, well, the world needs oil, but will we need it forever? That is a big question. I don't know if the world does need oil. I mean, we do right now, but as more alternatives come online here, we're going to need less oil. And so I don't like the secular. I just think, and what you're talking about too, the global warming problem, all the other issues, the younger generation wants clean energy. It's going to be the younger generation that eventually runs this planet. Yeah. I just think that doesn't bode well for oil longs.
Yeah, when you look at a secular, big step back picture, anything that involves water, wind, solar, or biotech to me is always interesting. So when you have a situation like this, which is frankly pretty straightforward, and finally the solar stocks are taking off, and I mean, there's still a couple that are undervalued, and I think frankly, and the ICLN is another one, which is a green energy that is performing very well. And if you look at the bigger picture, I mean, these things have been really depressed. So they are cheap, even though they seem like, hey, we've rallied so much. It's been a big move. I can't get in. I would counter that with saying, if you look at the longer term charts and you go back, 15 years, some of these things have been, demonstrably higher. And I think the upside is significant here.
What solar play do you like the best here right now? Do you have a specific stock or anything?
I mean, you have the ones that have obviously done very well. I mean, Vivant is at a new highs. You have Enphase at a new high.
Yeah.
The one that I kind of like that's off the chart, I have to look now because I've just been looking at so many of them recently.
Yeah.
gosh, I can't remember the name off the top of my head. It sounds like Enphase. It's very similar in vision.
Enphase has been a monster.
Yeah, really.
You look at this thing, and this was $5 back at the beginning of 2019. It's $39 here now. Is it too late to jump in the like? It's been such a run for Enphase. I almost think like, whoa, I'm way late to the party here. So,
yeah, I do kind of think Enphase is a little bit out of the way. The one I'm thinking is Envision, EVSI. Okay. That one we bought last week at like just below $8. It's trading $10.50. Things up 30% in 3 days.
Look at this move this thing's had. It's $3 at the end of the year. So in a month and a half, this thing's went to 10. I feel like the train's left the station on this one too. But
it's not, because you look back. I mean, in 2006, 2018, it's trading 22.
Yeah.
So
okay, go ahead, Dennis. I got one more for Greg.
No, go ahead, Joel.
Greg, we had some people. We had Jonathan Corpina from the floor on, I don't know, a week or two ago. We started talking about different floor stuff. And I know you're a floor guy, and we've asked you for a couple stories, but your time on the floor, were you ever fined for anything?
Joel's been trying to find somebody else who got in trouble, because Joel got in trouble all the time.
Did he?
He's looking for more troublemakers.
Gee, shocker. No, I personally never got fined, but
it's only you, Joel. You're the only one that's been fined.
Well, again, I'm 6'10", 300 pounds.
Well, they don't find these guys.
Not
on the floor setting.
Messes with me. I'm not, and I'm because I can afford to be, so I don't really have to.
Okay. I just
not on the floor, anyways.
Yeah, no, seriously.
All right, Greg. Great. Thank you. Wealth of information. Greg Weldon, Weldon Financial. Great guest here on Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep.
Thanks a lot, Greg.
Good. Take care.
All right. Real quick on the Make My Trip news. I did miss that they had earnings.
Okay.
Overnight. They also announced a new CEO. Their revenue was up. Their losses were down, and there's your explanation for the move in MMYT.
Well, Make My Trip made a lot of traders' day. So it was a big move yesterday. I don't know if it's going to fall through here today or not, but it'll be interesting to watch.
All right, let's talk about this big note we have from Bank of America this morning.
Oh yeah,
the
contrarian
casino stock. They're saying, go buy Wynn Resort, go buy Las Vegas Sands. That's what Bank of America is saying this morning. They're upgrading both of those stocks to buy.
Long term, I'm very skeptical of this. Short term, I'm actually long Wynn right now. So here you go, trading directly against my bias, because it just feels like this market wants to go up no matter what. And these stocks are depressed right now. So if it's a short-term day trade, I agree with them. Long-term, I have no idea. I'm still concerned that Macau could be offline a lot longer than everybody thinks. So long-term, I'm a little bit more concerned about it. But that's just, I'm still in it for a trade. So that's all I'm going to say.
They're pretty good. Bank of America moves the stock. Got up to 137.81. And what do you have on the dailies here? Boom, boom. I see resistance. Well, you took out the 135.5 pair of highs. So if you're buying this thing early, you want to see it hold 135.5. That's pretty close. Did we fill the gap? Boom, boom. Let's see what we have. If we have any gaps to fill in this one. No, fill the gap. I don't know.
140 is major
I was just
resistance.
Going to say, yeah.
And even before that, right where it's stalling out a little bit here in the pre-market, the high at 135.73. I mean, if you're worried about uncertainty, and I'm completely talking against my trading book here right now because I said I'm long it, but if you're worried about the uncertainty here, of what's happening with this coronavirus, this is a direct hit. So I'm still, long-term overly cautious. I will be selling my Wynn Resort that I have. It was just an overnight thing. So this isn't this is a short-term overnight trade. So I will be selling it here today.
Why would you wait till the open and not now? You just think that's where you're going to get the best price?
No, it's upgraded. So I'm just, trading it I feel like there's a little more oomph to it. So it's going to be up. I mean, if it was no upgrade, I would be hitting that bid left and right, but it's upgraded. Stock's been depressed. There's probably a few people caught short it right now. So I'm trying to maximize squeezing those people who are playing the short side on this thing right now. Las Vegas Sands there too. Same thing. So, I'm in it for the upgrade.
I gotcha. Okay. And you figure you find some buyers off the open.
Yeah.
What about a sleepy chart here? Tesla. We haven't talked Tesla in a couple days.
No, we talked it yesterday. I didn't like the response to that
article
opinion piece that they sold it right off. you have a nice consolidation station here though, so you can go with the winner here. I think below the candle from the day that the Forbes article came out, 752. I get nervous on this thing, and I think the bears take control. Above the candle there for 820, the bulls take control. You had a complete inside day there yesterday. Let's see what happens. I think below 752, the stock is in trouble. I think above 820, the squeeze could still be on. So that's where my line in the sand. You're right in the middle here. I'm not going to swing the pitch until one of those two things happen. But it gets interesting from both perspectives, above 820 or below 752.
And I'll just go a little bit longer term on this. Now, the day that it hit 968.99, traded nearly 61 million shares. And the volume has kind of been declining, 48, 39, 17. It bumped up a little bit yesterday, near 25 million. 2 days ago. Yesterday, 12 million. So to me, where are the buyers? Who's good? Not me, and I know not you, Dennis, but who's going to put new money to work on the long side with Tesla at 800 in this kind of run? So, sellers are being patient. They're just waiting for this thing to go higher. But where are the buyers? The buyers got to come out and push this thing. And
it's a big test for it right now.
Yeah, I do too.
It's being tested here. It got overbought. It got ridiculous and just went parabolic there when it got up to the 950. Now it's trying to digest that move. And can it, continue the move higher here? I mean, it has done this in the past. We know we've continued the move every single time higher. I mean, the prices are just, a little more crazy because it's had such a big move. So I'm just going to say again, I mean, if this trend breaks, that's where it would get concerning here. Technically speaking, trend is still intact. So I think you hold on until it gets below 750.
I love CNBC when this thing pulled back that it is now Tesla's officially in a bear market.
Yeah, on that first day.
Yeah,
10 minutes after it made the all-time high, it made a new bear market.
Yeah.
I mean, the 20%, and and maybe that's a little bit of tongue-in-cheek joking to a certain
I don't think so. I don't think so.
The way that they define, the market defines the bear market is 20% off of the highs. So any stock that rallies, 100% a week is probably going to have a 20% pullback in there. So is that really a bear market? Not really. I mean, we have to redefine it for stocks like this. And I'm not sure bear markets and bull markets, I mean, it should apply to even single stocks. A bear market applies to the overall market. A bull market, stocks trade. Yeah, there's some stocks that are off 20%. Does that mean they're in their own individual bear markets? I tell you, Tesla isn't in a bear market until it starts to, really, if you really want to get, the line in the sand, it would be that 687 low, because that's the low of the recent move. So I would say Tesla's not in a full-on concerning to the bulls until it gets below about 100 points lower than here at 687.
Okay. All right, Spencer, we only got 2 minutes left here. What would you like to?
There was one more rating that caught my eye, and that was Micron. UBS is playing catch up this morning on their Micron rating. They're upgrading Micron to buy, raising their price target from $47 to $75. And we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 upgrades of Micron this year alone. Just gappy.
It's everything in my power. I own this in my long-term portfolio, and it's taking everything in my power not to sell it. It's had such a move. It's cyclical. I learned the hard way. I got all my money back that I lost. The loss aversion guy in my head. Remember Herman's Head? Do you remember Herman's Head? Do you remember that show, Joel? Where they had like the 4 people in your head. You have like the anxiety person that's nervous all the time, and the nervous guy drives the bus sometimes. And then you have, the sensitivity. It's the sensitivity person who's like, oh, being nice. And then you have the logic guy who's using his logic and thinking everything through. And then the other guy was the lust, the guy that just has the id. He just wants to, eat all the crappy food and just basically goes with his inhibitions. So right now on this, the anxiety guy, when I look at my Micron in my head, the anxiety guy is totally driving the bus. He's like, sell the stock. I'm so nervous about this Micron. We got our money back, sell the stock. And the logic guy says, yeah, we got our money back. Maybe that's not a bad idea. But this is the time where it can actually start to, move in your favor. You got your money back, but just relax here a little bit. Let it simmer. Now the stock's moving in your favor. It might go up. And the anxiety guy keeps saying, sell. So I don't know, but I don't know who's going to win this one. I'm really torn, but I have been close to selling this thing a lot here right now. I don't like the fact that it's topped back out here in June of 2018 and we're struggling in the same area. Same thing with Square. So these two stocks are both big moves. I'm way up in the Square. I bought it at 61. We know I've talked about that, but it's starting to struggle in the same area that it struggled back in June as well, where you have all those highs. And the anxiety guy says, sell, sell, sell. So logic guy says, oh, you still got the trend in your friend. Try to hold on. So I'm not sure who's going to win, but I kind of want to ring the register in Square and Micron. What should I do? What should I do?
Well, the chat is saying sell half, to take.
Maybe that's the thing to do, but
yeah. Yep. Yep.
Whenever I sell half, it's usually always a bad move. You know why it's bad?
When you buy half, it's bad.
You know why it's always bad to do half? Because when you're glass half empty guy like me half the time, you'll always remember, oh, I should have sold it all, or I should have, you always look at the wrong side of that trade. So if it goes up, you'll say, why did I sell any? And if it goes down, you say, why didn't I sell it all? So you're always wrong.
Was that what was that? The Pee Wee Herman indicator? Is that what you called it?
The Pee Wee Herman?
Yeah, what did you call it? That thing?
Herman's head. Google that, Herman's Head. It was a show on TV for like 3 or 4 years.
It was a 90s sitcom. I can't believe that's the sitcom that got name dropped on our show.
Herman's Head. I love that show. And I was like, this is the stuff that goes on in my head right now. The anxiety guy, the logic guy, you got all this stuff going on in your head right now. Who's going to knock the other person and drive the bus, which is what you're going to do. Inside Out, which is a Disney movie, was kind of a ripoff of Herman's Head. So if you watched Inside Out, it's the same story. But Herman's Head had the original idea there. What's going on inside Herman's head? And they show these 4 people, and they're fighting with each other to make the next decision. I mean, it's kind of how it works.
I'm not envious of what goes on in your head, Dennis.
No, nobody is.
I'll say that.
I'm not envious about what goes on in my head. Sometimes I wish I could be in somebody else's head.
Hey, Dennis, people are, someone's asking about your thoughts on Beyond Meat before earnings. I don't see them reporting until April 15th. Did I miss a date here?
I haven't looked at the chart on Beyond Meat for a while. Let's do it quick. Oh, yeah. You know what? Holding on. It's still trying to hold on. I mean, from a fundamental perspective, it makes no sense whatsoever. But we know fundamentals don't matter in this market right now. It gets above 123, 124, maybe the squeeze is back on. So keep an eye. I'd say, and here it's still just in consolidation station, but yesterday's high. We'll look at that. Starts to get above there. It starts to get interesting.
Yeah, it's getting tight. I agree.
Yeah.
I'll play it real. What are we doing here? We're trading up 96 cents. I'll call this one close to the bell. We got a whole 116.10, matching lows from the last 2 sessions. Boom, whole 116.10. If you're a swing trader looking to get back up into the 120s. On the upside, if we see 122.80 today, I'll call that 2-star resistance that splits your high from Friday and Monday.
All right.
Bull for trade, and it says trade Micron, don't own it. Because Kramer always says, own Apple, don't trade it. Bull for trade saying trade Micron, don't own it. You know what? That's been the way to play Micron. When it has these big moves, it's always been a good idea to ring the register because it's so bloody cyclical. And it seems like it always gives you another chance.
All right, that is it for our show. You can always catch our podcast on whatever podcast platform you prefer, or watch our show on youtube.com/Benzinga TV. Want to thank our guest today, Greg Weldon. Thanks to all of you in our chats, both chats, the one on YouTube and the one on premarket.benzinga.com. Shoot us an email, premarket@benzinga.com, or call us 734-494-0246. Leave us a voicemail. We might ask your question on the show. What else do I have to say? Click on the link in the description for a discount and a free trial to Benzinga Pro. Also, for our Florida listeners, the Cannabis Capital Conference is coming up February 24th and 25th in Miami. Go to benzingaevents.com to learn more about that upcoming conference. And please remember, all the information from our show is meant to be used as informational purposes, not for investing or trading advice. Everyone have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow.